It is very nice to be back in the UK.
Flashback.
Why would I give the very people that are calling my children the N-word
Very nice to be back in the UK.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Welcome if you're new, and thank you so much for joining me, Pluto, to discuss the One Young World Sussex appearance, or I should say Meghan appearance, because as usual, Harry was just a tag along. The purpose of this video isn't just to report on the fact that they've gone and Meghan was a keynote speaker, but it's more to question why a woman like Meghan Markle was even invited to be a keynote speaker at a youth leadership forum. Now, I understand that she was involved with the organization as far back as 2014. There is actually footage of her during the 2014 summit, but we'll get back to that later because it's relevant to her speech. I didn't really know much about One Young World. I got on their website. That usual vague word salad that we're accustomed to from Archwell. I was quite dismayed to see that the One Young World website was littered with the same language, which I suppose explains why Meghan Markle was even invited to be a keynote speaker. They seem to champion climate change and the environment, which is great, but again, are Meghan and Harry the best advocates for such a cause? I have heard they flew commercial this time. I have also heard that they drove a hybrid car this time instead of a gas-guzzling SUV. One thing I am noticing, though, is this trend that come September, a mini tour of sorts is organized by the Sussexes. Last year, it was in the States, in New York, and this year their destination is Europe. So it makes one beg the question, what was the point of Megxit if you're just gonna end up doing the same thing, except with no tax-funded security, which they're fighting for? An official from the local police in Manchester, where the summit is being held, confirmed that they are not being protected by the police and that they have private security and a dog unit for some reason. This is plenty of evidence for the government, come judicial review, to argue before the court that it looks like they're doing absolutely fine when it comes to their security without the Metropolitan Police. It seems like they put on these tours every year just to reinforce the notion that they can be royals on their own terms and live a life of service on their own terms. On their own terms being getting paid to do it. Now on to Meghan's actual involvement as a keynote speaker at the summit. My interest in this topic is two-pronged. Firstly, as a young individual who attended an army officer training institution equivalent to the one that Harry and William went to in the UK to become a leader. That is what being an army officer is. You are trained to lead. I also want to throw in my bit about equality because she is an advocate for equality as well. The second angle I'm looking at this from is a young person who once upon a time looked up to Meghan Markle. This may come as a shock to those of you who are new, but that's the truth. Before the Oprah interview, while I wasn't a fan, I liked her whenever I saw her. So I never sought her out, but whenever she would make an appearance, whenever I watched her speak, I liked what I saw and heard. Before I start off with leadership, a brief comment on the speech. It's 9 minutes long, and 99% of it was about her.
I was probably a lot like each of you. How on earth did I get here? And there I was the girl from Suits. And I was surrounded by world leaders, and I was invited. I was so overwhelmed by this experience. I think I even saved my little paper place card that said my name on it. I was so nervous. I wondered if I was good enough to even be there. What I was doing in the world. The One Young World saw in me what I wanted to see fully in myself.
I swear to God. And the entire impression she was trying to make was she was this very innocent, young, naive youth in 2014. Here's a clip from the very summit that she referenced in the speech from back in 2014.
Luama Stefanos is from Eritrea, and just 4 years ago, she literally ran to get her freedom with bullets flying towards her. She was a slave. She's incredibly brave and strong. She has spoken at the United Nations. It's just so humbling, and she's just so incredible. So this is Luama Stefanos.
That doesn't come across to me as a young, shy, insecure, deer in headlights, fish out of water youth. Let me know in the comments what you think. I could go on for a while about leadership, so I'm not going to, but I'm going to distill it to the most important lesson I personally learned during my time training to become a leader. A leader's greatest asset is their people. And a good leader knows that. With that knowledge comes a leader's most important trait, demonstrating to their people, their group, their section, their platoon, their company, that they're one of them, that they're not better than, they're not a step up from the rest of them, that they're in this together. You have no idea how important that is for morale, for people to feel that their leader is someone to look up to. Not because the leader puts themselves on some pedestal enforcing this image that they are better, no, but by their actions, by their humility, by their humanity, by being down there in the trenches, literally in the army, doing the hard and dirty work with their people. That inspires loyalty like nothing else does. And that's the kind of leader that I want to look up to. That's the kind of leader I aspire to be. And that's the kind of leader that army officers are trained to be, by the way. So in that vein, Harry would have been more qualified to give this speech than Meghan Markle. The irony of it all. Instead, he just sat there looking incredibly uncomfortable, incredibly unhappy, while his wife waxed lyrical about how special she is. There is nothing of value that was learned after I listened to that speech. In terms of equality, whether it's gender-based or just equality amongst people, Meghan Markle is the exact opposite of what an egalitarian is. Someone who views people as their equal, not lesser than. Someone who treats people as their equal, not lesser than. And someone who is not an elitist. She's always aspired to step all over people to get to where she wants. And that's not how an egalitarian behaves. Egalitarians uplift other people because they recognize that they have value, equal value, maybe strengths in different areas and weaknesses, of course. But just because we're all different, it doesn't make one better than the other. And Meghan Markle did not get that memo. When it comes to gender equality, do not get me started with the Meghan Markles of the world and their misogyny. The misogyny of women like Meghan Markle and Amber Heard is second to none. Amber Heard has actually been quoted to say in an early interview before she was famous that she hates other girls and she likes older men. So we should believe her because we know one of them is true. Meghan Markle, while she never said anything of the sort, her behavior speaks volumes. Actions speak louder than words. Her bullying victims, from what I know, were almost exclusively female. What does that tell you? She's threatened by other women. She is so insecure that the presence of another woman, especially a younger one, would send her into a rage. And she treated these women, or rather I should say mistreated these women, accordingly. You don't hear many complaints coming from men, and that's not because women complain and women are weak. No, it's because she targeted women, by all accounts. The bullying report, which has unfortunately been suppressed, but we know of its existence. We know that the complainants were female. And we know that the revolving door of staff that kept leaving were female. Are those the actions of a gender egalitarian? Of someone who believes in equality? Let me know in the comments below. It's a sad world we live in, where the rich and famous, with no qualifications, are appointed as leaders and keynote speakers and role models for the young people of the world, the future and the present, as she said in her speech, to model themselves after, to look up to. Do we really want to live in a world where young women look up to Meghan Markle and emulate her? It's unfortunate. I say this a lot in my videos because as a young woman, I did look up to her and I think she wasted a golden opportunity. I think she really has all the makings of someone who could have been something. If only she had a good heart. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please do subscribe and thumbs up the video. I'd like to also give a very warm thank you to our patrons and our YouTube members for supporting this channel and making it possible for us to keep coming back and making content for you in the midst of all this study, work, and travel. Thank you so much. Your support is so very appreciated. I'd also like to thank the negative comments, which fuel my desire and my drive to grow the channel and to give you even more content. Take care, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.